The village prepared for another humid and uncomfortable New Zealand night. A young man told his grandmother goodnight and went to sleep. He dreamt of being carried into the woods while people talked and laughed around him. Then he felt trapped and couldn't move. The young man sat up in bed. It was morning. His grandmother asked if he was all right. The young man explained his dream about being taken, hearing the people, and feeling trapped. His grandmother solemnly said, "You're lucky. They returned you." They were the Maori's forest spirits Patupaiarehe, and this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, and thank you for joining us. This is Legends from the Pacific, Episode 17, The Maori's Forest Spirits Patupaiarehe. I am Kamuala Kaneshiro. Listeners, the podcast awards are around the corner, so please nominate Legends from the Pacific when voting opens in July. Also, follow us on Twitter or Instagram and share us with your friends and family. Later in this episode, your featured song, Hawaiian Word, and hobbits. But first, the Patupaiarehe. The Patupaiarehe are also known as Turehu or Pakepakeha. I'll talk more about Pakepakeha later. Physically, Patupaiarehe are the opposite of Maori. Patupaiarehe are short, fair-skinned beings without tattoos. They have blue or green eyes and usually red hair. They play bone flutes and lure attractive women into the forest. Maoris with Patupaiarehe traits are called urukehu and are believed to be the result of women seduced by Patupaiarehe. Now, I'd like to be clear that they have been labeled as fairies, but this does not conform to Maori belief. For Maoris, they are spirits who take human form. Patupaiarehe eat raw meat. They're scared of fire and repulsed by the scent of cooked food. They come out at night because they hate the sun and have appeared in many Maori stories. Maoris believe if you disrespect the woods, the Patupaiarehe will torment you. Also, some of the Maoris' ways have been credited to the Patupaiarehe. The following is based on cultural stories. Kahukura was a chief traveling north, but night was approaching, and Kahukura found himself on an empty beach, so he decided to sleep on the sand dunes. Voices and laughter woke him as he saw Patupaiarehe catching fish with nets. Maoris knew of Patupaiarehe, but they didn't have nets. This intrigued Kahukura, who realized if he stalled the Patupaiarehe until dawn, they'd abandon their catch and nets. Kahukura was about the height of a Patupaiarehe and used the darkness to join the beings. Kahukura sabotaged the nets, which created more work for the Patupaiarehe, who lost track of time, and when the sun rose, they abandoned their nets, which Kahukura took to his people. There was another story involving a male Patupaiarehe marrying a Maori and sharing some of the Patupaiarehe's sacred ways with his in-laws. Still to come, your featured song, Hawaiian Word, and hobbits, but now, a story. The following is a Legends from the Pacific original story and is based on cultural testimony. She loved how the night's mist hugged the low tide. It was the perfect scene for her shellfish dinner. She picked a morsel as a man greeted her. She fled behind a nearby sand dune, but her stomach growled as she realized the scenery distracted her from her meal. She looked at the food she left behind. The man offered her the shellfish. She was taken by him, and they continued meeting under the stars. The couple's love for each other grew until one night she confessed she was Patupaiarehe and things wouldn't work. But the man declared his love for her and insisted they could make it work. She loved him and agreed. The two were married and had several children. She was happy and astounded the village with her weaving, which she only did at night. The Maoris haven't seen this before, and the women wanted to learn how to weave. So they asked her to teach them. She agreed, but lost track of time, and the rising sun made her flee back to her realm, where she remained heartbroken for leaving her husband and children. Coming up is your featured song, Hawaiian Word, and Hobbits. Listeners, the podcast awards are around the corner, so please nominate Legends from the Pacific when voting opens in July. Also, please follow us on Twitter or Instagram and share us with your friends and family. Our closing story was how the Maoris learned the art of weaving. I also like to point out the Hawaiian version of Patupaiarehe are called Henehene, but the Hawaiian Henehene usually don't involve themselves with humans. Today, the Maoris believe the Patupaiarehe still linger in the woods, and a Patupaiarehe postage stamp was made around the year 2000. As mentioned earlier, another word for Patupaiarehe is pakepakeha. A short version of pakepakeha is pakeha, which has been used as a term for white New Zealanders. I could see pakeha being kind of similar to the Hawaiian and Hawaiian pidgin word haole, but haole has also been used to describe things that are white and not just someone's ethnicity. The topic of pakeha being considered a racist term was brought up in New Zealand's media and ended with many Maoris and non-Maoris feeling the subject was silly and pakeha was a non-racist descriptor. In the Kaimanawa area, there's the Kaimanawa Wall, which is a smooth rock that people believe is the top of a pyramid from a civilization that predates European and possibly Maori contact. There's also been a number of stone carvings and artifacts that imply this was a civilization of short people. Word of this spread on the internet that this might have been real-life hobbits. So, is this proof of the existence of the Patupaiarehe, or was this another civilization pre-Maori? If it is pre-Maori, I'll have to change the title of this episode. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating, write a review, and share Legends from the Pacific with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to nominate us for the podcast awards in July. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects are by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy, aka DJ TripleBypass. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is Henehene Kou Aka by Josh Tatofi, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuela Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is uhane. Uhane means spirit or ghost. An example for uhane is the house is haunted by an evil uhane. Once again, uhane is Hawaiian for spirit or ghost. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and a hui ho. Henehene Kou Aka,